Alright, here we go. Hello everyone, it's Brian, your host. Just doing a quick side notes today. Yesterday I saw the headline floating around online that a U.S. congressional representative, Josh Gottheimer, a Democrat from New Jersey, introduced a bill that would establish government-backed insurance for stablecoins. Some of the provisions of it was that stablecoins would have to be qualified in that they would have to be redeemable on a one-to-one basis for US dollars, meaning that any institutions that would be allowed to issue these, which would be designated, at least in the legislation in its current form, as bank and non-bank financial institutions, which I think would cover companies such as Cash App, Coinbase, probably the custodians such as Prime Trust, Fireblocks, BitGo, Ledger Vault. They would have to have cash requirements or cash collateral on hand to cover whatever is issued. There was also parameters that, just as the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, which was set up during the 1930s to sort of act as a backstop when banks were failing during the economic depression in the 30s, the FDIC was set up to act as a backstop for the smaller depositors, the everyday people, the small retail depositors with checking accounts and savings accounts and maybe certificates of deposit, where up to a certain dollar amount, if the bank were to fold, the government would redeem up to a certain dollar amount in full. Today, that amount, I believe, is $100,000, and during the financial crisis of 2008-2010, I believe that was increased to either $150,000 or $200,000. Well, the idea is that this would be the assets would have reserve requirements for collateral held in a segregated account specifically for this. And there would be rules regarding leverage ratios, auditing requirements, the anti-money laundering, and know your customer compliance. And I think the implications for this, it comes in two vectors. First, as far as it would add definition is to digital assets. You would have definitions starting to come into play, especially as far as stablecoins, which leads to number two, which is that if you are a financial institution such as a Goldman Sachs or a bank or even one of the crypto custodian companies, for the former, it creates a safeguard in that you now have an open door to be able to establish a new asset class that you can monetize, either through deposits, loans, the same as we have with a lot of the SenFi and DeFi companies and protocols out there. It would give them an incentive to use this asset class and be able to monetize it and know that they fall within parameters of legality. And then for the crypto custodians, it gives them a further leg up of legitimacy in the eyes of people who have not jumped into the space, the no-coiners, the non-coiners. They're saying, well, okay, these assets are backstopped by the government. If the government's willing to do that, then there's legitimacy to it, and then they'll start looking into it. And that'll lead to a further path of adoption with digital assets in general. So I don't know if this would pass in its current form, if it would get watered down, rewritten, revised. It's something to keep an eye on, just for the implications as far as who can utilize these assets should this come into play, and also how it plays in with the continuing story of legal definitions and boundaries. And that wraps up this Side Notes. You can follow along at TINYCRYPTOBLOG.com, either on WordPress or subscribe by email, where every Sunday you'll get the weekly summary, which has headlines, tweets, short videos, helping you see the long game, the big picture. You also get a few posts during the week. You can also follow along on the numerous audio sites and video platforms listed in the show notes. Be well, everyone. Talk to you soon. And that wraps up this Side Notes. You can follow along at TINYCRYPTOBLOG.com, either on WordPress or subscribe by email, where every Sunday you'll get the weekly summary, which has headlines, tweets, short videos, helping you see the long game, the big picture. You also get a few posts during the week. You can also follow along on the numerous audio sites and video platforms listed in the show notes. Be well, everyone. Talk to you soon.